1. UK water crisis, reforms and Thames Water's struggle for survival. 2. Alarming surge in water pollution, why our rivers are dying. 3. England water pollution crisis, 60% spike in serious incidents revealed. 1. UK water crisis, reforms and Thames Water's struggle for survival. A potential water crisis hangs over Britain's largest water company, garnering heightened national attention. But here's where it gets controversial. Thames Water, teetering on the brink of collapse, has triggered major concerns about whether government intervention, and possibly nationalisation, might be the only way to rescue an industry that many feel has been neglected for too long. In a striking scene on July 18, 2025, an organised mudlarking event took place on the River Thames in London, highlighting the river's historical and cultural significance. Meanwhile, Britain's government prepared to unveil long-awaited measures aimed at repairing what some critics call a broken water sector. Thames Water, the country's biggest supplier, is under severe financial pressure, and observers fear its failure could saddle the government with billions of pounds in debt, adding strain to already overextended public finances. From an industry perspective, it's important to understand the root causes. Serious pollution incidents in England rose by 60% in 2024 compared to the previous year, prompting widespread frustration over sewage spills into rivers and lakes. The Environment Agency holds Thames Water responsible for 44% of the most severe pollution breaches, but it's worth noting that all 9 major water companies in the country exhibited persistently poor performance. This is the part most people miss. While Thames Water is in the spotlight, the issue affects the entire sector and the public's trust in private ownership. Britain commissioned a review in 2024 to evaluate the privatised water industry in England and Wales and outline ways to update its ageing infrastructure. The same review also looked at new guidelines for preventing sewage overflows, a major contributor to public outrage, and proposed improvements for river bathing standards. John Cunliffe, a former Bank of England Deputy Governor, leads this examination. In an interim report published in June, he recommended revising regulation to make the industry more appealing to stable, long-term investors. This might include merging regulators so water companies have clearer direction, as well as introducing predictable rules for their operations. But in suggesting a regulatory reset, investors are demanding flexibility on pollution targets, tolerance on penalties, and additional time to implement improvements. Critics wonder, shouldn't water companies be held to strict pollution standards regardless of their bottom line? That's where the debate truly heats up. On one side, there's an urgent need to attract fresh capital to rebuild outdated networks. On the other, communities affected by pollution are calling for firmer oversight and tougher penalties. For the past 18 months, Thames Water has struggled to remain solvent. If it fails, the government would be forced to step in under a special administration regime, a temporary form of nationalisation. While ministers are keen on limiting water pollution, they also want to avoid taking on the £17 billion of debt that accompanies Thames Water at a time when the nation's finances are already precarious. Finance Minister Rachel Reeves has repeatedly stated that strict fiscal rules are in place and breaking them could have broader consequences for the country's economic stability. Thames Water's leadership has been transparent about the severity of its situation. CEO Chris Weston told lawmakers the company is extremely stressed and operating in very difficult circumstances, after reporting a £1.65 billion annual loss. This has led them to seek a rescue deal worth roughly £5 billion. Supported by its creditors, but private equity firm KKR dropped out of an earlier rescue plan in June, citing concerns over regulatory risk. According to KKR, it would be challenging to meet public expectations on infrastructure improvements within a tight time frame. As a further indicator of the mounting difficulty, Thames Water anticipates £1.4 billion in pollution fines and penalties over the next 5 years. Unsurprisingly, anger among local communities has intensified, especially episodes of sewage and chemical spills that threaten wildlife and public health. Although the government has expressed its willingness to monitor the situation closely, it's not clear if or when it might step in with a more drastic solution. In the meantime, Environment Minister Steve Reed said the government stepped up contingency plans to be ready for a special administration scenario. Some question whether dissolving or merging Ofwat, the water industry's financial regulator, could address the sector's weaknesses. Others argue that the entire industry needs a fundamental overhaul. They openly wonder, do major private utilities avoid the scrutiny we'd expect of such an essential service? This upcoming Monday, Britain is set to release its proposed strategies to tackle water sector challenges, and many investors and citizens are anxiously awaiting the details. If the measures succeed in stabilizing Thames Water, it may pave the way for sustainable investments across all utilities. Yet if they fall short, nationalisation, or yet another rescue plan, could become the only realistic option. And here's a question for you: should the government give water companies leeway on pollution targets to secure investment, or should environmental standards remain non-negotiable, regardless of the financial burden on utilities? We'd love to hear your opinions, whether you feel stricter measures must be enforced or think a compromise is necessary. Join the discussion in the comments and let us know if the threat of nationalisation might be a justified last resort. $1 equals 0.7466 pounds. Reporting by Sarah Young and Paul Sandel, editing by Joe Bavier, Elaine Hardcastle. Our standards, the Thomson Reuters Trust Principles. Sarah Young focuses on breaking news within the UK, closely following the performance of British companies. Her work in the UK Bureau has spanned everything from airline developments to energy policies, and she also devotes time to covering the royal family, political events, and sports. Outside of journalism, she is an enthusiastic open water swimmer. 2. Alarming surge in water pollution: why our rivers are dying. Why is water pollution on the rise despite years of protests, promises, and increased bills? It's a baffling question, especially considering the sewage scandal that was supposed to lead to improvements. However, the reality paints a far different picture: a staggering 60% increase in pollution incidents from 2023 to 2024. https://news.sky.com/story/source/story/most-serious-water-pollution-incidents-up-60-133983006. While water companies acknowledge their shortcomings, they attribute much of the blame to the unusually wet weather in 2024, which can exacerbate sewage spills from combined sewer overflow systems. Yet, data from the Environment Agency suggests that this explanation falls short. Serious pollution incidents have risen by 30% since 2016, marking the third consecutive year of increases. This trend underscores a critical issue: persistent underinvestment and inadequate maintenance of infrastructure. The latest Environment Agency report confirms what many have suspected: our sewage systems are struggling to handle the demands placed upon them. This problem isn't isolated to one company. For instance, United Utilities and Northumbrian Water have the lowest number of pollution incidents. In contrast, Southern, Anglian, and Thames Water, the largest water utility in England, lead the pack in pollution-related issues. There is a silver lining, though. Transparency within the industry is gradually improving, with more companies voluntarily reporting pollution incidents than ever before. However, it's worth noting that for the 11 most severe pollution events in 2024, only 4 were self-reported by water companies, the remaining 7 were reported by external observers. While it's tempting to place all the blame on water companies, the upcoming report from the Independent Water Commission is expected to propose a comprehensive overhaul of the sector. This could include dismantling the current water regulator, Ofwat, https://news.sky.com/story/of what-could-be-scrapped-in-water-reforms-133985001, a move that has sparked debate among stakeholders. The root of the problem extends beyond individual companies. Successive governments have prioritized keeping water bills low, often at the expense of investment in essential infrastructure. This has resulted in a situation where fixing the current issues will require significant resources and time. As we navigate this complex issue, it's crucial to consider various perspectives. Some argue that the focus should be on modernizing our infrastructure, while others believe that regulatory changes are necessary to ensure accountability. What do you think? Should we prioritize investment in our sewers and water supplies, or is a restructuring of the water sector the key to addressing this crisis? 3. England water pollution crisis: 60% spike in serious incidents revealed. England's water pollution crisis has escalated to alarming new heights, and the latest numbers might leave you furious. In fact, a recent report from the Environment Agency reveals that severe pollution incidents, specifically those caused by water companies, have surged by a jaw-dropping 60% in just 1 year. That's not just another statistic, it's the highest ever recorded in the country's history. To put it in perspective, there were 2,801 separate pollution incidents across England in 2024. Compare that with the 2,174 incidents in 2023, and you see the crisis worsening. Disturbingly, 75 of these cases were labelled as causing serious or persistent harm, affecting not only our precious fisheries, but also drinking water and public health. Last year, that number stood at 47. Are water companies spiralling out of control, or are we witnessing a failure of regulation? The sense of outrage is palpable. The Public Accounts Committee, a cross-party parliamentary group, didn't mince words, calling the situation woeful and slamming regulators for being missing in action. Their data was released just days before an anticipated review of the entire water sector, due out Monday, where major changes could be proposed. Rumours are swirling that this report, led by Sir John Cunliffe from the Water Commission, might even recommend abolishing Ofwat, the sector's main regulator. A government spokesperson, however, declined to comment on such speculation. But here's where it gets controversial. Is getting rid of the regulator the solution, or would that create even more chaos? Commenting on the latest data, Environment Secretary Steve Reed didn't hold back either. These figures are disgraceful, a stark reminder that underinvestment and lax regulation have brought record levels of sewage in our rivers. Even Water UK, representing the industry, admitted that some companies were falling short. They pointed directly at the lack of investment in infrastructure and maintenance as a chief culprit. The government actually set a pretty clear goal a few years back: pollution incidents should be down 40% by 2025 compared to 2016 levels. Instead, the 2024 figures are more than double the original target. How did it go so wrong? Every year, the Environment Agency tracks the volume of pollution, like untreated sewage, escaping from water company sites into England's waterways. But shockingly, just 3 companies were responsible for most of the gravest incidents. Thames Water racked up 33, Southern Water 15, and Yorkshire Water 13 of the most serious cases. James Wallace, CEO of River Action, summed up the situation bluntly: these numbers lay bare a brutal truth. Serious pollution incidents are rising, sewage discharges are rampant, and our rivers are facing ecological collapse. This is no mere regulatory misstep, it's a national disgrace. Wallace went even further, suggesting that Thames Water, the worst offender, should be placed under special administration. Why do these problems keep happening? England's aging combined sewage system means both rainfall and sewage flow through the same pipes. With higher rainfall last year, the infrastructure was easily overwhelmed. Still, regardless of weather, companies are legally bound to prevent serious discharges. Yet, out of 4,000 inspections last year, nearly 1 in 4 sites were found in violation. Most incidents are self-reported by the companies, but this clearly hasn't curbed law-breaking behaviour. Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown, chair of the Public Accounts Committee, was unwavering in his critique: regulators face more prosecutions than they can handle and simply can't deter illegal actions. He said, government must act now to strengthen regulators and help them hold companies to account. The committee blamed continuous failures on a lack of basic oversight from the Environment Agency and Ofwat, stating that vital infrastructure is not being maintained. Here's a shocking detail you may not have heard: at the current rate of investment, it would take 7 centuries, yes, 700 years, for water companies to replace the entire water delivery network. Water UK says this is because Ofwat historically didn't allow higher water bills, stifling investment. But that's changing. A record £104 billion is being poured into improvements over the next 5 years. Naturally, this means water bills are going up, on average by £123 annually, with Southern Water customers seeing hikes of up to £224. But is it fair that customers foot the bill for decades of underinvestment? That's not the only viewpoint. Sir Geoffrey argued that the industry itself is to blame. claiming water companies have redirected funds to shareholders instead of reinvesting in crucial upgrades, saddling customers with the cost of interest payments instead of improved service. Rather than using those profits to fix broken pipes or upgrade treatment plants, the money is being funneled elsewhere, he stated. All eyes are now on next week's major review, where Sir John Cunliffe will publish his final recommendations. In his early findings, he was highly critical of existing oversight, calling the failings deep-rooted, systemic, and interlocking. He suggested water regulators should take a leaf out of the financial sector's playbook, where continuous, close supervision is the norm. We really need a regulator that keeps a close eye on companies, intervening early and helping them improve, he told the BBC. And this is the part most people miss, sweeping changes to the regulators themselves might be coming. Is stricter oversight the key to saving England's rivers, or will it stifle the industry's ability to modernise? So now, over to you, ***, who do you believe is to blame, water companies, watchdogs, or government leaders themselves? Should water bills rise to fund investment, or should companies face stiffer penalties and tighter controls first? ***, share your views below, your voice could shape the national debate.